Hispanics are causing panic, baby. Let's do it.
Panic causing panic. Let's go.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on archive. I'm being joined by the one and only Maestro. Chief Funky will be joining us in the second hour, and we'll be joined by Calix Boxing as well. Shout out to A-Rod. Andre Rodriguez, hit my like button. For those listening on archive, make sure you share this video and all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and get this one started. Shout out to A-Rod, Andre Rodriguez, and everybody that's coming in the chat as we speak. We're going to start with the good, the bad, and the ugly of the boxing weekend. Maestro, what is your good of the weekend, brother? And by the way, how you doing, brother?
I'm very well, D-Sal. Thank you for having me on HCP. It's always a pleasure, always a pleasure to be here with my extended family on YouTube. And the intro always gets me amped up to do this show. It's almost as good as these video montages I've been watching Jake Paul train for Mayweather. Just kidding. Anyways, the good for this week. You got to go with Nonito, man. I mean, that was a stellar performance. He snagged himself the WBC title. He dominated Ubali. He finished him like beautifully. And he did it at 38 years old, which is ancient for a 118 pounder. So I bet on Father Time, and Father Time beat me this time. He did a spectacular performance, and I got to give it to him. That's the good for me this week.
Absolutely, man. And shout out to Andre Rodriguez again. JC, how's it going, brothers? Share this video on your social media platforms. I have to agree with you, man. I have to put Nonito Donaire as the good, and not just after the way he acted after the win, the message he had for people after the win, the way him and Ubali showed great sportsmanship and support to each other as athletes, as competitors. I think that's the good, that's like the good side of boxing that we don't hear about a lot or enough. So big win for Donaire, regardless of how confident anybody was in picking him, he still had to go out there and he had to actually do it. You know what I mean? And that's what he did. And it was a great win. And as he put it, age is just a number. It's not about the number in your age, but how well you take care of yourself. And I think it's fair to say he's taking good care of himself, and he's doing what he needs to do to live that fighter's lifestyle in order to make that weight. Because he ain't making that weight if he doesn't live. He's not living the fighter's lifestyle. You know what I mean? And we got one and the only Calix here with the four kings in the background. How's it going, Calix?
Good, man. Good to be here.
I see the expo. I see the Expos cap too.
That's right.
Now I have a feeling it's going to be a three-peat for the good of the weekend. What is the good of the weekend for you, Calix?
Nonito Donaire. Big win. It was good to see him come back from that from the loss to Inoue a couple of years ago off the inactivity. So I was happy to see that. And he's behaving like Teddy Atlas says. He's behaving like a fighter. He immediately calls out for the rematch. And that's a beautiful thing to see. So good for him, man. I'm happy. I was happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. And we're going to take it back to you, Calix. What is the bad of the weekend for you in the boxing world?
Bad for the weekend, I would say the last 3 rounds for Haney probably. I just thought he could have handled it better. A lot of clinching, a lot of hugging, and what bothered me the most about that was his corner. I don't know if you guys noticed that, and if you have the same opinion of me. When there's chaos in the fight, you need a clear and concise corner. and they had two voices in the corner, and a lot of times that can be disturbing. So I think he needs more direct. I didn't see any direct conversations going on in that corner. I saw two guys speaking at the same time. So I didn't like how Haney dealt with that the last 10, 11, and 12 rounds there.
All right. What about you, Maestro? What is the bad of the weekend for you?
I'm going to take this in another direction, and I'm going to call out a sanctioning body and lay the bad on them. And I'm going to lay the bad on the WBA. I mean, what the hell are they doing? You know, Manny was the champion. They stripped him of his title during the middle of a pandemic, right? Supposedly because he was inactive. Okay. Guess what, guys? It was a pandemic. You know, not only that, they allowed Keith Thurman to hold the title way longer than they allowed Manny to hold it. So they stripped Manny. You know, they give the super title status to Ugas. And, you know, I remember when they created the super title, it was supposed to be a title that you could only have when you held another championship. But whatever. They gave it to Ugas. He's not a unified champ. And then now they stripped Ugas and they're giving it back to Manny. If that's not bad, I don't know what's bad. That's my bad.
That is pretty bad. That's definitely. Did they officially do it though? Has it been officially done?
Yeah, he's no longer champion in recess. He's now back to his former super status. You look at Ugas on social media; he's not happy about it. You know, he's tweeting and doing his Instagram thing. He's complaining. I mean, it was just dumb. It never made sense from the beginning, and it makes less sense now.
You know, it reminds me of like Christmas morning, like a kid is giving a present and they're all happy, and then they're about to unwrap it, and no, that was not yours. Never mind. Give me that. You know what I mean? Like what?
That's exactly it.
That's exactly what it is. Yes. There was another Christmas where an aunt gave me a present. She said, "Here," and I said, "Thank you," and then she goes, "Take that to your uncle." Okay. You know, but look, the bad for me is the Devin Haney protection squad out here. Okay, that's the bad for me. Right? These dudes going out here doing damage control and making shit up. Like, oh, Devin Haney dominated. He only got hit because he let himself get hit and just shit like that. Like, I don't know about all that. Y'all trying too hard, and telling the truth is just better, in my opinion. Okay, that's the way I see it. Maestro, what is the ugly for you?
Go in a totally different direction here with the ugly. For me, the ugly is Deontay Wilder. He's claiming that he's suffering from the outcome of white privilege. As a black man, I'm going to tell you right now, bro, like there's nothing. What happened to you has nothing to do with white privilege. So for those of you who didn't know, he came out of his layer or whatever it's called. He hasn't been doing media much for the past few months, maybe about a year, actually. And he was on 78 Sports TV, which my man H Money's been going at nonstop. Check out H Money. He's been grilling that dude, making him look foolish. And yeah, Deontay Wilder gave an interview there, and one of the many things he said, along with the fact that he's going to decapitate Tyson Fury and a bunch of other things, was that what happened to him was because of white privilege. So that, to me, as a black man, I got to say that's the ugly.
Okay. My ugly of the weekend is definitely John Pascal testing positive, and the irony behind it, because for those that don't remember, he was demanding that Bernard Hopkins, and I quote, "Take the test! Take the test! Why do you want to take the test?" And then Hopkins tried to like sucker punch him in the middle of the thing. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I do remember that PED scout. Somebody said, yeah, Jan Pascal, you know, ugly, brother, ugly. The dude comes out like when is a fighter tested positive? And I heard Beep say this and said, "Okay, you guys got me. I'm guilty." Never happens. It's always what? No, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna find out, because ain't no way I took out 1, 2, but 3 pads, bro. 3 pads, triple threat. Like, come on now, right?
It's like Big Baby in a smaller form. Big Baby didn't admit anything either, didn't he?
No. But he doesn't want to take the vaccine though, because he doesn't want foreign substances in his body. Okay, I don't know about you, brother. Okay, because you're taking a lot of foreign substances in your body. Hey, Calix, what is the ugly of the weekend for you?
I'm going to go in a similar direction as Maestro. And I actually texted you about this earlier, D-Style. Malik Scott with Deontay Wilder. I don't know what that was about. Saying that not only is he similar to Ali, he's 10 times more skilled than Ali and has faced 10 times more. What was it exactly? He said 10 times more hurdles or something like that outside of the ring than Ali. Just a disgusting comment. And even if he's just trolling, you don't clout chase off of legends. There's certain legends you just don't clout chase off of. And him and Mayweather just seem to have this thing with comparing themselves to Ali and trying to put themselves above Ali. And when you talk about a guy, I mean, you can name Ali's 30th best victory is better than Deontay Wilder's best victory. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Wilder who isn't the best heavyweight in boxing right now in a weak era of heavyweight boxing. Ali faced all the greats. I mean, you're talking about a guy who fought Ken Norton 3 times. He fought George Foreman when Ali was past his prime, and Foreman was the baddest man on the planet, and Joe Frazier 3 times, and the list goes on and on and on. You're talking about a guy who fought everybody in a tough era. So I just see this this thing that keeps going on, and it started to happen about 1.5 years, 2 years ago when the Tyson Fury fight started to happen. Was the first fight was there seems to be they need to get these alibis out there for Deontay Wilder set up out there for when he falls, and I just don't like what I'm seeing coming from that camp. It's ugly, man. It is truly ugly, divisive.
Now, just to have my co-winner for ugly was Devin Haney waddling back to his corner while Linares showed him his seat. Had to be the ugly, a runner-up anyway, I should say. Okay. And for those asking, it is 78 Sports TV did have the exclusive interview with Deontay Wilder, and Malik Scott was there, and that's where that's at. If I see people saying Ness from the Boxing Voice agrees with the comments, they must think that Ali is Will Smith, because they saw the movie and they're like, well, I don't see any hurdles from Will Smith. Will Smith's doing great after the movie. Well, that's not Will Smith, people. Okay. Like you don't know enough about Ali if you believe, okay, that any fighter, not just Wilder today, all right, went through more hurdles than Muhammad Ali fought the United States government and won with the Supreme Court voted for him. Like, do you not know how much of an underdog he was to convince for conservative justice to vote in favor of Ali to make it happen. Like, I'm just saying, okay?
In the 70s.
In the 70s, bro. That
wasn't 2021 woke, United States.
But go ahead, Calix. Yeah.
But this is you're standing on, like, your pioneers laid this out for you to have a pretty, and the thing about Wilder too is he's had the establishment has had his back. The boxing establishment has had his back since the amateurs. I remember training in a gym in New Orleans back in like 2006, 2007, whenever the Olympic trials were coming up. And it was the rumor going out there that this guy, Deontay Wilder, is getting controversial decision after controversial decision against these fighters, against these amateur fighters, because they like his story. He had the special needs daughter he was raising, and all that's beautiful, man. It's good he's a family man and all that, but they liked that he was marketable. They liked that he had a big bright hand and he was the next guy up. So he was getting controversial decision after controversial decision leading up to, they wanted this guy in the Olympics. The USA Boxing wanted him in the Olympics. And then the boxing public was very patient with Deontay Wilder going through the ranks. You know, he's a guy who didn't have much amateur experience. You needed to groom him. So the boxing public was very, very, very patient with this guy. So for him to act like the world is against him, that's the part I'm not getting, especially comparing yourselves to guys like Muhammad Ali. And then you think about fighters like Joe Louis, Jack Johnson, who faced real issues. And Deontay Wilder, in comparison, has had it pretty good.
Absolutely. And it's not a comparison, Calix, of, oh, I'd like to compare myself to something I'd like to strive to do. You know what I mean? Or I'd like to compare something to some activity that I'd like to replicate. You know what I mean? I'm comparing myself to this man and I'm way better than him. Or I'm not going to end up like him. Or, you know, I'm going through more adversity than him. So what is Deontay saying? That Tyson Fury used his white privilege to beat him in the ring, and that's more adversity, than what Muhammad Ali went through by refusing to go to Vietnam and fight.
Bro, that was just a good old-fashioned ass whooping. Is that what that was? That's all it was. You just got beat by. I do everything I can to rid those narratives out of my mind, because it ruins what's supposed to be fun. Like this, it's just supposed to be a sport and two athletes going in there and competing. That's all it's supposed to be at the end of the day. It starts making it very uncomfortable when it starts becoming about, oh, this is about the blacks versus the whites. And like, man, I don't want to have anything to do with that shit. Okay. No. Like this is just about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't have an issue with Wilder saying, I want retribution. I want to knock this dude out because he beat me. I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue with, I want to get back at him because, you know, he cheated and he tried to cheat me and like stuff. That's what I have an issue with. And now that I think of it, yeah, that probably is the ugly of the weekend. Like bar none, above all. And that's it. Any final thoughts on this, Maestro?
No, I mean, Ali, no one else is going to be an Ali. Like Ali stood up against going to war against, you know, an impoverished, you know, fellow oppressed peoples. And by the way, shout out to Ho Chi Minh. That's who's on my shirt right here. Funny enough. What does Mayweather stand for? I mean, the first thing they did when they went to his video in the Jake Paul preview was him with some strippers, right? What does Deontay do? He's like sipping some drink and playing the piano, feeling all sorry for himself. Come on, man. Like you said last week, D-Sal, get this man's name out of your mouth.
Hey, I mean, I agree. And let me just say this. And look, I understand this is a very touchy subject. And that's why, like, I talk boxing to have fun. You know what I mean? That's what I talk boxing for. But I just want to say this. Boxing has been ahead of the curve forever. Okay. Like the MLB didn't get a minority of any sort, including blacks, right, till the 1940s. Like black dudes were already fighting for world championships in boxing way before that. You know what I mean? So wherever society is now, I promise you, boxing is way ahead. Okay, because that's what the trajectory of boxing has shown. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like for better, for worse, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not saying the sport is perfect and above anything or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that boxing is way ahead of all that shit. It just is. It always has been. Okay? It wasn't right what they did to Jack Johnson. Don't get me wrong, but it was still way ahead of its time compared to baseball and any other sport. Yeah. At least in the United States. I can speak about the rest of the world, but just here. With that said, we did touch on it, but we have to do more than just touch on it. So before we get our guest on, I just want to kind of touch on this quick. Nonito Donaire, he makes history. He wins the WBC Bantamweight Championship at age 38. And what people need to understand is this isn't normal, like to win a title at 38 in those weight classes. It just isn't. You know what I mean? And like I said earlier, you got to live that fighter lifestyle for him to be making that weight because he's big for the weight. And he couldn't do that unless he was disciplined all the way, right? Calix, I'll start with you first. Talk to us about Nonito Donaire making a statement. You know what I mean? What do you think about his performance?
No, a great performance, obviously, and I like how he was patient in the first round and was sort of setting traps there, but was the underdog in the fight as well. But I said that in the post-fight video I did on my channel was it's incredibly difficult to do this at 38 years old in any weight class. But when you're talking about the lower weight classes, this isn't and nothing against taking away from this victory for Bernard Hopkins. But when he fought Jean Pascal was a guy who was very economical in the ring, threw punches, about 35 to 40 punches per round. So it was sort of a good style for Bernard Hopkins at that point. If he's going to beat a champion, that was the one to beat. This isn't that. When you're talking about lower weight classes, you're talking about guys who throw twice that amount in a fight. So to be 38, 39 years old, up in age, it's tough to compete in those weight classes. It is tough. So for Donaire to do it is truly special. He punched his ticket into the Hall of Fame if he wasn't there already, which I believe he already was, but legend in the sport. And I like what he did after the fight. Immediately, he said, I want to avenge my loss. He's behaving like you want to see fighters behave. And I love that we're getting this sort of insurgence of Donaire. And then we got Pacquiao following it up in August. Maybe he'll do something special. So these guys inject some excitement into the sport, and they're showing the younger bucks how to do it.
Well said, well said. And what about you, Maestro? What'd you make of his performance?
It was a spectacular performance, an unbelievable performance. I mean, people probably disagree with this, but I think that it was at least as good as George Foreman knocking out Michael Moore. I mean, in the heavyweight division, you require power. Like, it's literally the last thing to go from a fighter is power. Mm-hmm. You know, the first things to go are speed, timing, reflexes, all of the things that you need in the 118-pound division. Nonito's been able to hold on to that. Apparently, he was sparring with his wife. I think that the fact that he's married to a combat sports athlete himself, it plays a big part in just him living the lifestyle. You know, it was a spectacular performance. I went against him only because of the age. And what was interesting to me, too, is you saw how much bigger he was than Ubali on the night of the fight. This is a big man for 118 pounds. So it also shows you that even at the age of 38, he is like living the life, man. The diet, the exercise, all of it. He has to do it to make 118 pounds. This is a guy that's gone up to 126. So absolutely, my hat goes off to him. Amazing performance, and he deserves all the credit in the world for it. Will he get an Inoue rematch? I do not know. We'll see. I mean, I think a Casimero fight would be good for him as well against a fellow Filipino. But you know, we'll have to see if Casimero can survive Rigo, and that's an open question.
Well, there's also Rigo. That's an obvious, and it was a more one-sided loss than the Inoue fight. But here's the but.
Yeah.
But Rigo's legs are gone. Like, Rigo's legs are not the same. You know what I mean? Now, it doesn't mean, okay, I'm automatically going to pick Donaire, but what it does mean is, I don't know who wins the fight.
That was prime Rigo, and Rigo was on point. That goodness, great. That was one of the best performances I've ever seen Rigo put on.
Guys, I was at that fight live with my sister Carmen and my cousin Papa, and it was an amazing night. I actually agree with you, D-Sal. If Rigo can get past Casimero, I would go for that if I'm Donaire, to avenge his loss, just like Lennox Lewis used to do.
Right. Look, at the end of the day, I think it was a great performance by Nonito Donaire, Bantamweight Champion, age 38, stopped Ubali in very impressive fashion. Okay, fourth round. And I see some people making fair arguments about the punch being late after the bell, whatnot, but I just think he was on borrowed time. Like, I just don't think, like, it was obvious to me from the opening bell that Ubali was not going to win. Like, it was just very apparent to me. I thought it was going to be a little more competitive, even though I picked Donaire, because I thought Donaire would be a little slower in that. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, he did his thing, and all that Good stuff. Okay. Calix, anything you wanted to add about? So you mentioned that his wife's a combat sport.
Yeah, she was a very high level Taekwondo athlete.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
She said after the fight that she had sparred with him because they needed someone who was 5'3". And I honestly didn't realize that Ubali was 5'3", and I definitely realized it when the bell rang. The other thing too is she was in his corner, and they were talking about the fact that they realized pretty early on what his patterns were. Shout out to Joe Habib, because he mentioned that too last week, that Ubali's a pattern fighter. And once they figured out what his combinations were, they were just reading him and timing him. It was like all day, making him walk in the shots, and they knew what he was going to do. So, and Rachel, his wife, actually said that in the corner. We all could have caught it between rounds, and she's definitely a combat person herself.
Yeah, no doubt. We are going to wait on Alan Solis. He should be on momentarily. Okay, and I know Calix will be joining us after the interview. Anything you want to add really quick about Donaire, Calix, before we proceed?
No, just great performance. But once again, the boxing world just seems to be in a better place when guys like Pacquiao and Donaire are active. I love it, man. I love seeing these guys stick around and continue to be competitive in the sport. So it surprised the hell out of me, though. I was really surprised. Obviously, I was cheering for Donaire, but it surprised the hell out of me. I did not expect that type of performance from Donaire.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you in a little bit, Calix. All right, sounds good. Hey, we're just waiting on Alan to come on, and while we wait for him to come on, we do have La Flaca on here. How's it going, Flaca?
Hello.
How are you? We're
Fine.
doing good.
Fine.
What?
Yeah, I just came down from my running. I went running. I'm having trouble switching from English to Spanish, but hopefully today I'm gonna be like translating, and I feel better talking Spanish. So,
Okay.
our guest's gonna help us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got an amazing interpreter tonight.
Let's see.
While we wait on him, what did you think about Nonito Donaire?
Huge fan. I'm always like too shy to ask boxers for a picture. And I was on Las Vegas on Thurman versus Manny Pacquiao, the fight. And I just saw Nonito Donaire, and I was like, I have to ask him for a picture. And he was, such a gentleman. He gave time to all the fans there. And I was hearing you, Eric, and that's right. I mean, from the first second of the fight, you could call that fight like for Nonito, because he was stronger. He was like more comfortable in the ring, and I love his his left hook.
Yeah, it was. I was very, very impressed with Donaire. I think I picked him to win. I didn't think he was going to win that easy, though. Like he won a lot easier than I thought. And
you saw him with Inoue. I mean,
yeah.
If you can give Inoue a fight, you can, you are at another level.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're waiting on Alan Solis to show up here. But while we wait on him, another question I want to ask you, Flaca. What did you think about? He already responded to me, so he should be coming on soon. What did you think about Devin, Haney, and Linares?
Well, it was really hard because I was seeing both fights at the same time, but I think Linares did good. There's it was a fun fight, and I enjoy it. I mean, there's always like that trash talk about I don't know, it seems that we want every boxer to win so easily the fights, to say, oh, he's a good boxer. You know, what we are looking for are wars. And, you know, yeah, Linares a little wash up and all that, but experience in the ring, you can buy that. You can learn that, but with time. So, I mean, it was good. It was the good call. The right man won. And I don't know how you saw it. How you saw it, Maestro?
What do you think, Maestro, about the performance?
Yeah.
Nonito?
No.
About
Haney.
Oh, Haney. Yeah, Haney. It's tough because I want to be critical, but at the same time, I gotta also state the fact that, and I know D-Style, you're gonna kind of disagree with this because I heard you talk about this earlier. But in 2021, okay, we're not in 1995 or the 1998 anymore. In 2021, 22 is pretty young for a fighter still.
of course.
And he showed that he's got a lot to learn and he's got a lot of experience that he needs to gain as a fighter. And, you know, I thought he boxed well for the majority of the fight, but I feel that in the 11th and 12th round, he was literally, you know, lunging in like a linebacker and trying to hug Jorge Linares. You know, it was extended hugging, and that is not legal in boxing. You know, it's an infraction that could have been penalized easily in that fight, which would have helped Linares, obviously. I mean, you're not allowed to bum rush a guy and then just hug him. You know what I mean? You're not allowed to do that in boxing. If you were, you know, you'd have every NFL offensive lineman becoming a boxer and doing very well, you know? So, you know, that was the part of the performance that I really did not like. But I felt that he did show, you know, aspects of his game that are very good, but he does have some more to do before I think he's ready for a guy like Teofimo Lopez Jr., in my opinion.
Well, what I'll say is this about Haney. I don't mind that he's a boxer and he wins by outpointing guys. You know what I mean? But everyone, including myself, everybody else is going to have to accept that he's not going to knock people out. If you couldn't knock out Linares catching him clean, you're not going to knock anybody out. If you couldn't knock out Gamboa, who was a lot smaller than you, Gamboa's been down 16 times in his career. You couldn't knock him down one time, you know. And then Linares, almost every fight he gets cut. Couldn't cut him. Linares came out and said he doesn't punch that hard.
Yeah.
So it's, to me, he's going to have to win by outboxing guys for 12 rounds. He's not going to stop guys. That's not Haney. That's not going to be him. He didn't look good, in my opinion, coming forward. You know, it just didn't. Too much holding, hugging, shoving, pushing for my liking. Like I wasn't a fan of it. You know what I mean?
He doesn't have a fan-friendly style, but still, you know, people who knows the game can see how difficult it is to move around the ring, to outbox a boxer. You know, because Linares is a boxer too. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't see Haney like, you know, selling out a big arena or something. You know, maybe if the right partner is there, for example, Teofimo, but people will be there for Teofimo, you know?
And the thing is, Linares was like tailor-made for him to get a knockout. I mean, it's a guy who's...
Gamboa was tailor-made. I mean,
right. Well, we'll continue the conversation. We do have our guest of the evening, the one and the only Alan Solis. Cachorro, how are you doing, brother? ¿Cómo estás?
Hey, ¿qué tal? ¿Todo bien? Muy bien, gracias a Dios. ¿Cómo están ustedes? Pues primero que nada, muchas gracias por la invitación y por el espacio aquí en su programa.
Con mucho gusto, gracias.
Con mucho gusto. So I'll just do the translation this one time, guys. We'll be using Mariela here for translation. She'll be doing the translation. You know, he's just saying, you know, he's glad to be here and glad to be on our program here on Hispanics, Causin, Panic. The first thing I kind of want to ask him here, I mean, He's currently fighting at 126 pounds. Is he planning to stay there for a while? He's 5'8", kind of tall for the weight. Is he going to be there for a while?
So, ¿te vas a quedar? Cachorro, ¿cómo estás? Mariale, un gusto. Nos pregunta Eric si te vas a quedar todavía en las 126 libras por un rato o cuáles son tus planes.
Okay, it looks like he froze.
Yeah, I think he's having...
A ver, otra vez la pregunta, es que como que se trabó un poquito.
Ya,
Okay.
le digo que si te piensas quedar en las 126 libras por un rato o tienes algún plan de moverte hacia arriba.
Bueno, quiero terminar quiero ahora sí que dominar esta división. Estamos trabajando muy fuerte para lograrlo y vamos, yo creo que por muy buen camino y pues vamos a mantenernos aquí hasta donde más se pueda.
Okay, so he's going to keep at 126 pounds because he wants to dominate the division. They think they are doing well and they're staying here as long as the body can give, the weight.
Yeah, I see that it shows he's from Ciudad Juárez, Mexico. Does he train out of there, or where does he train?
¿Entrenas, Cachorro, en Ciudad Juárez o dónde estás entrenando y con quién?
Mi preparación comienza en Ciudad Juárez con mi señor padre Javier Solís. Hago la mitad del campamento ahí y la segunda mitad ya para finalizar la hacemos acá en Los Mochis, Sinaloa, con mi entrenador José el Torito López, un entrenador muy experimentado de Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, so he says he always starts his camp on Ciudad Juárez with his father. He does like the first half of the training camp there, and then he goes to Los Mochis to finish the camp with Jose Torito Lopez, which is a very well-known trainer from Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask him about his style for those that haven't seen him. What's his style? All right. And who are his influences?
Okay. Cachorro, ¿cómo definirías tu estilo y quiénes son tus influencias?
Bueno, yo creo que el estilo que tengo yo es como, bueno, yo trato de trabajar para todos los estilos. Trato de dominar todos los estilos para en el momento de la pelea, pues no sé qué estilo se me va a presentar y yo saber de qué manera trabajar. Pero naturalmente yo creo que mi estilo es más como técnico, como media corta. Entro, peleo, me gusta pelear, me gusta la guerra, pero sí creo que manejo mucho con inteligencia en el cuadrilátero.
¿Y tus influencias?
Mis influencias me encanta cómo pelea Teófimo López, me encanta cómo pelea tal vez en pesos más arriba, no sé, David Benavides, Oscar Valdés, claro, de Canelo también he visto muchas cosas, y entre otros, claro.
Okay, so you want me to translate, but I think you guys will catch it up, or you want me to translate, Eric?
Yeah, please translate.
Yeah, please, yes.
Okay, the influences, we all heard the names, the David Benavides, Teófimo López, Oscar Valdés, but about his style, he says he likes to be able to perform in very different styles, because once he gets to the fight, he wants to adapt his style according to the fight plan of the other boxer, but he likes like the medium and the short range, and he likes to fight, he likes the war. I mean, he's Mexican, that's my comment, but he said he likes to do it with intelligence.
Okay. Now, I see, he did mention he wants to dominate the division. He's at featherweight. So how many more years, how many more fights, should I say? How many more fights so he challenges for a world title does he feel?
¿Cuántas peleas sientes que te quedan ahí en las 126 para ya estar como luchando por un campeonato mundial?
Bueno, a los planes que he escuchado en mis manejadores, yo creo que más o menos algunas 7, 8 peleas, entre 7 y 10 peleas para ya estar, si todo sale bien, pues disputando un título mundial.
Okay, he says like from 7 to 10 fights. He heard his managers talk about it, and maybe after that he will get the title shot.
Okay, all right. Now, in his last fight, his opponent missed weight. From what I saw here, did that give him any problems in his last fight?
Que pues la última pelea tu rival no dio el peso, te dio problemas, ¿sentiste alguna diferencia en la pegada?
No, realmente no sentí que tuviera como la mano más pesada por el peso. Más bien creo que su estilo de pelea no se acopló mucho al mío y se me hizo un poco incómodo su manera de boxear, pero realmente por problemas de que él dio el peso, no, realmente no.
Okay, he says that at the fight, the problem was the style that was like so according to his style, and that made the fight uncomfortable. But he thinks it was nothing to do with the overweight of the other boxer because he didn't felt the strength in the punch.
Okay. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what amateur experience did he have?
¿Tu experiencia amateur, cachorro?
Tuve 120 peleas amateur. Fui campeón municipal 6 veces, campeón regional 4 veces, y competí en 5 competencias nacionales, de las cuales agarré una medalla de plata.
Okay, he says he has 120 amateur bouts. He was 6-time, district champion, 4 times a region of Mexico, a champion also. And at the national tryouts, he got a silver medal.
Wow, okay. Did he have any aspirations to go for the Olympics, or did he always just want to turn pro?
¿Quería ser profesional desde el principio o sí hubo sueño olímpico en ti?
Sí, realmente sí hubo pues intenciones de tratar de calificar pues para los Juegos Olímpicos, pero conforme vas avanzando en la carrera amateur, te das cuenta que en México no hay los recursos suficientes en el Comité Olímpico pues para apoyarte. O sea, uno te tiene que estar manteniendo desde afuera, tus papás o así, y pues realmente ya empecé a verlo como una pérdida de tiempo.
Okay, well, he says he of course had the Olympic dream, but once he began getting to know the amateur boxing in Mexico, well, he got disappointed because it's hard to get the resources. You have to pay for your own training, and he thought he was losing time, so he turned pro.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's sad.
Okay, so does he feel, I mean, he kind of already answered that, but just to kind of get an answer for the audience, like, does he feel like the amateur system in Mexico needs a lot of improvement?
¿Qué crees que necesita el sistema amateur en México? O sea, ¿cuáles serían como puntualmente los puntos donde deberían de apoyar más a los deportistas?
Pues yo creo que económicamente, porque pues claro, el Comité Olímpico sí es un lugar muy completo y tiene las instalaciones adecuadas, pero no sé, bueno, más bien el problema es al momento de viajar a algún otro lugar a competir, es donde empieza a faltar apoyo económicamente. Incluso pues ha habido historias de que los peleadores han tenido que salir a las calles, a los semáforos con botes y cartulinas, pues para pedir apoyo a la gente para poder ir, realizar un viaje a un torneo.
Yeah, he says that the Olympic house where the athletes from Mexico concentrate, it's okay, it has all the equipment, but the problem comes when they need to go over another country or another city to fight. They don't have the money, so there has been some at some point, the boxers went to the streets and asked the people for money in order to get their own resources and to go fight and represent Mexico.
Wow. Okay, man, they need to improve that for sure. I see that title right behind him. I could see it. You know what I mean? So, and I believe that's a WBO Latino Championship. I do want to know, what did winning that belt mean to him personally as a fighter?
Bueno, el cinturón que tiene nos puede decirle que es OMB Latino, creo. ¿Y qué significa para ti ese cinturón?
Bueno, este cinturón significa pues que es hasta ahorita como el resultado de el trabajo duro que he estado haciendo desde que empecé a boxear, porque desde que empecé, pues la verdad es que no he parado. Gracias a Dios que tengo el apoyo de mi padre y de mi familia, claro, pero más que nada de mi padre, que él es el que me entrena. Y pues esto es el resultado hasta ahorita, pero claro que sabemos que ahora teniendo este cinturón aquí, significa que pues ahora sí que viene lo bueno, ahora sí viene lo duro, y eso no me asusta, realmente no me quita el hambre ni me quita el sueño, al contrario, esto es como más motivación para mí, de yo trabajar más duro, porque sé que así como yo tuve el hambre para agarrar este cinturón, sé que más gente viene para también quitármelo, arrebatármelo. Sin embargo, yo, pues, el hambre no se me quita, porque pues no es el título mundial, que a final de cuentas es el objetivo.
Okay. He says that the belt is a result of hard work. He hasn't stopped since day one. He began at the boxing, being a boxer. And also it means the support of his family, especially his dad, because his dad trains him. And he's very proud of that title, but it also means that it has a lot to come, and hard work and a lot of hard fights, because a lot of people want that belt and also the championship belt, and that's what he's looking for.
Now I want to ask this question. I ask this to every prospect. So, how important is success for him in boxing? Does he have a backup plan if it doesn't work out?
¿Qué tan importante es para ti tener éxito en el boxeo, en el sentido de si tienes un plan B si no funciona?
A ver, ¿cómo, perdón?
O sea, si no la armas en el box, si algo sale mal, ¿tú tienes un plan B?
Bueno, esa es una buena pregunta, porque realmente no seguí mis estudios por quedarme ahora sí que en el box. Sin embargo, no es algo que pienso quedarme así. O sea, yo tengo toda la intención de seguir estudiando, de seguir en la escuela, porque pues claro que sí, nunca sabe uno o cuándo se va a acabar esto, y pues sí es lo más importante tener un plan B, porque pues en caso de que no sea esto, pues ahora sí el plan B, que es, no sé, tener una carrera pues ahora sí que por la escuela. Pero
¿Profesión que te guste?
no, y sí tengo, sí hay cosas que me gusten, pero realmente desde mis últimas peleas como que han sido muy seguidas, entonces no he tenido como que la oportunidad de que concentrarme en la escuela y meterme ahora sí que pues para seguir, ¿verdad? Pero ya es cosa de hablarlo con mi manejador y claro que sí, eso ya está próximamente, ahora sí que próximamente.
Okay, he says that was a very good question, Eric, because right now he's not studying, he's focusing on boxing because he has had, all the fights like from a very short period of time. And but he has plans to go to college when he talks to his managers and maybe being able to organize time.
Okay, so my follow-up to that is that there's fighters that don't have a plan B, right? And they feel, from what they've told me, like they feel like that gives them an advantage. Like when it's the fight gets tough, they don't have a backup plan, so they're going to fight harder in the ring. Does he believe in that, or does he think he'll fight hard no matter what?
Okay, dice Cachorro que algunos boxeadores que no tienen plan B dicen que por eso han logrado sobresalir, porque es o la armo o la armo. Sí. ¿Eso tú crees que te afecta, te ayuda, o esa mentalidad, digamos, ahorita que no tienes plan B, digamos?
Bueno, eso sí es verdad, de que o la armo porque si no voy a hacer nada. Sí es verdad, pero yo creo que eso no me afecta, no me asusta, pues, porque pues realmente mi intención más que el boxeo, pues yo quiero, o sea, mi intención es crecer como persona, no solo como boxeador. Entonces, mis planes son tener el plan B, que es la escuela, pero si por si no se da pues algo en el boxeo, pero pues sí ahora sí que son mis planes, o sea, tengo mis planes muy, muy claros ahí en ese aspecto.
Okay, he says that it is true that maybe that gives you like this good pressure to keep delivering, but he's not scared that he still want to have that plan B, which is college. And he said that is because he doesn't only want to grow as a boxer, but as a person. And that's why he's having all these dimensions in his life.
All right. Maestro, before I go to the chat question, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, his trajectory seems to be the WBO because he's got that WBO title. You've got Gary Russell Jr. out there as a champion. You've also got Leo Santa Cruz still there. Kanzu, the Chinese fighter. Emmanuel Navarrete is the WBO champion. Does he consider him to be the best boxer at 126 pounds right now?
¿Quién es para ti ahorita el mejor en las 126 de todos estos campeones? Y quizás no campeones como Leo, por ejemplo.
Yo pienso que sí, ¿cuál es mi mejor peleador de
en los 126 en tu peso?
Pues el vaquero Navarrete sí es un peleador muy bueno, muy aguerrido y con mucho aguante, pero yo creo que el peleador que se me hace más completo hasta ahorita ¿cómo se llama?
¿De dónde es?
Gary Russell.
Okay.
Sí.
Okay, yeah. He says that Vaquero is a really tough boxer and that he respects him, but he thinks that Gary Russell Jr. is now the man at 126 pounds.
Okay. Now we do have some questions from the chat here. LWC rep is asking, does he have any superstitions or have any unusual practices in training?
¿Tienes alguna superstición cuando entrenas o antes de la pelea? O en la pelea, algo que hagas, en tu entrenamiento, algo raro que hagas como entrenamiento.
¿Algo que qué, perdón?
Algo raro que hagas de entrenamiento diferente o quizás alguna superstición antes de la pelea de que no sé, me persigo 50 veces.
Bueno, pues sí, eso de la persinada y la oración es de ley en cada pelea con mi equipo, manejadores y equipo, pues manejadores de esquina, mis entrenadores. Eso sí es de ley porque pues nos da como la confianza y más que nada pues el agradecimiento, ¿verdad? Por estar ahí en ese lugar, por tener la oportunidad de estar ahí. Y pues en el entrenamiento yo creo que el entrenamiento pues lo hacemos como lo mejor que se puede hacer. O sea, todo entrenamiento lo hacemos al 100%. Yo pienso que, pero de ahí en más no, nada extraño.
Okay. He says that at practice, at training, he doesn't do anything weird or unusual, but before the fight, he prays with his whole team, to have this confidence, but mostly to be grateful for where he's standing.
Okay. Now, I'm from El Paso, so I'm very familiar with Juarez, and a lot. They're on the news a lot. Let's just say that, right?
Sí.
What does him representing Juarez personally mean to him?
Dice él que él es del Paso, entonces que conoce la región y sabe que es muy peligroso, va cada rato en las noticias. ¿Qué significa para ti ser de Juárez?
Bueno,
representar Juárez.
Sí, representar Juárez, o sea.
Ok. Sí, pues la verdad que pues yo me siento orgulloso del peleador que he sido hasta ahora, de cómo he representado a Juárez hasta ahorita en el boxeo. Claro que Juárez ha tenido peleadores muy, muy buenos. No ha tenido campeones mundiales hasta ahorita, Ciudad Juárez, pero sí ha tenido pues peleadores muy buenos, como pues últimamente fue Miguel Miki Román, que también fue mi compañero, o es a veces mi compañero de sparring. Pero yo creo, y hay muy buenos prospectos, claro, pero yo pienso que es mi turno ahora como peleador de Ciudad Juárez. Yo pienso que yo vengo empujando fuerte y claro que no tengo ni la menor duda de que tengo toda la capacidad de ser el primer campeón mundial de Ciudad Juárez.
Okay. He says he has pride from representing Juárez, that Juárez has a lot of great boxers like Miguel Miki Roman, but there hasn't been a world champion from Juárez. He knows there are a lot of prospects, but he thinks he's pushing hard to be the first champion from Juárez, Chihuahua.
Okay. Just to take one more question from the chat here. Jesus M is asking, when he looks at his fights, what does he believe he needs to improve the most?
Okay, Cachorro, cuando obviamente después de tus peleas ves el tape y ¿qué errores has visto y en qué necesitas trabajar?
Bueno, yo pienso que en lo que después de ver mis peleas, en lo primero que se me viene a la mente que tengo que trabajar es mucho con la mentalidad que tengo como pues como peleador, porque mis intenciones en todo el campamento de preparación es salir a pelear, salir a noquear o hacer el plan de pelea que tengo con mi equipo, y siento que estando en la pelea es lo que me falta, es la decisión de hacerlo.
Okay.
Llegamos muy bien preparados, después de un excelente campamento con mis entrenadores, pero a final de cuentas pues el que está arriba del ring pues soy yo, y ahora sí que tengo que hacer yo mi trabajo, y sí lo he hecho de manera muy inteligente y todo, pero yo siento que me falta un poco más de confianza en mí mismo y tomar la decisión pues para ejecutar ahora sí que de manera bien total el plan.
O sea, eres más cauteloso, lo que me estás diciendo.
Sí, más
Okay.
que nada.
He says he needs to work on his mentality because he has a plan with his team. When he's training, he's very focused on getting a KO or, delivering the plan as it was, as a teammate. But sometimes he lacks a decision when he has to go for the fighter and finish him because he's not that confident at the moment to go and pursue the knockout. So he needs to work on his mentality to believe he can achieve it.
All right. And just another one, and it's a good question from Juan Lozano. Ask him who gave him his nickname, or how does his nickname become? Like, how do you,
Yeah. ¿Por qué te dicen cachorro y quién te puso así?
Es un apodo que, bueno, mi papá desde que estoy chiquito me dice que no, eres mi cachorrito y mi cachorro y bla, bla, bla. Entonces, pues nunca pensamos que este fuera el apodo que se me fuera a quedar. Incluso cuando recién empezábamos a pelear como amateur, y llegábamos a pensar de que algún día que llegues a ser profesional, ¿cuál va a ser tu apodo? Y ahí andábamos mi papá y yo de que no, de que y no, no, pues a ver. Y conforme fue avanzando el tiempo, mi papá pues de cariño siempre me ha dicho así, en el gimnasio me decía, hey cachorro, ven, vamos a hacer esto, cachorro, dame esto, y la gente escuchaba y, hey, el cachorro, ¿y dónde está el cachorro? Y ya, pues ya se quedó ahora sí que de cariño.
So he says that his dad called him cachorro is like puppy, no? Cachorro is puppy. So his dad called him like that, in the family, like a very, like a nickname, a family nickname. And when they were at the gym, he was like, hey, cachorro, do this, and cachorro, do that. And then people began hearing that, and it got into their heads, and they couldn't change it. And he says that with his dad, they talk about, like, when we go pro, we're going to change our nickname, and we're going to, figure out which one. But at the end, people just kept with cachorro, and that's it.
Gotcha. So I do want to say to everybody watching, you can catch his fight on UFC Fight Pass. They'll be fighting in Los Mochis, Sinaloa, Mexico. He's going to be fighting Pablo Robles. What does he know about his opponent coming up?
¿Tú sabes de Pablo Robles ahora que vas a pelear con él?
Ajá.
His next opponent.
Pablo Robles es con el que vas a pelear, ¿no?
Sí. Sé que es un peleador agresivo. He visto algunas peleas de él. Es un peleador fuerte y es zurdo. Yo soy derecho, él es zurdo. Y es un peleador que siempre va hacia enfrente, siempre busca el knockout. Entonces, pues tenemos preparada una estrategia muy buena para ese rival.
Okay, he says he knows he's a very aggressive fighter. He has seen fights from him, and that he's lefty, so that's always a game changer. And he knows that he likes to go forward and look for the knockout. So they have a plan to not letting him do that work.
Una pregunta más, one more question. How many times does he see himself fighting this year?
¿Cuántas veces crees que peleas este año?
¿Cuántas veces creo que peleé?
¿Que vas a pelear este año? Sí.
Agosto. Yo creo que unas 4 veces, 3-4 veces.
Qué bueno.
Aparte de la que tienes ahora. Aparte de la de junio.
Esta y unas 3 más.
Okay, this one and another 3. Yes.
Was he impacted? Like, did the pandemic impact his boxing career in any way?
Ok, ahora con la pandemia, ¿pasó algo con tu carrera? ¿La retrasó? ¿Qué onda?
Bueno, sí, un poco, no, la verdad me siento afortunado porque hay peleadores que sí se aguantaron toda la pandemia sin pelear, o sea, ya llevan pues el año sin pelear o más, y yo estuve inactivo nada más como 6 meses. Pero pues yo siempre pues he estado acostumbrado a pelear de que cada 2, 3 meses, entonces ya los 6 o 7 meses creo, ya fue donde dije no, ya es mucho, y ya pues me salió la oportunidad, me salieron las oportunidades y pues la tomé desde la primera oportunidad que tomé, ya de ahí no he parado.
Okay, he says that he feels very fortunate because some fighters kept inactive the whole pandemic. Well, we still at the pandemic, right? But for a year or so, and he didn't have action like for 6 months, but he began turning desperate because he wanted to fight. He was accustomed to fight every 2 or 3 months. But once they gave him the opportunity, he took it.
Okay. And the final question is a 2-part question I have from one, who's his favorite fighter of all time? And second, what does the term Mexican style mean to him?
Okay, dos preguntas, Cachorro. ¿Quién es tu peleador favorito de todos los tiempos? ¿Y qué significa para ti el estilo mexicano de pelea?
Bueno, respondiendo a la primera pregunta, yo creo que mi peleador, un peleador que me ha motivado mucho hasta ahorita y no me canso de ver sus peleas, es Edwin Valero, paz descanse. Bueno, pues todos conocemos su historia, ¿verdad? Pero como peleador, pues para mí era impresionante. Y la segunda pregunta, ¿cuál era?
El estilo mexicano, ¿qué es para ti? ¿Cómo lo defines?
El estilo mexicano. Bueno, el estilo mexicano, pues sí, como todos lo conocen, es pelear, ¿verdad? Es guerra. Es guerra, pero yo creo que hay gente que no entiende que la guerra se tiene que dar inteligentemente. Es pelear, 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 pero al mismo momento que estás peleando, estás cubriendo golpes, estás quitando golpes, estás evitando que te peguen. Ese creo yo que es el correcto estilo mexicano. No el que piensa la gente que es pelear como loco y dejar que te peguen y pegar y dejar que te peguen. Yo pienso que ese no es un estilo mexicano. El estilo mexicano es sí pelear, entrar a la guerra, pero al mismo tiempo estar siendo inteligente, claro.
Okay, so he said his all-time favorite is Edwin El Caballero. He doesn't get enough from watching his fight a lot. He says we all know the story, but he admired him as a fighter. And about the Mexican style, he says that most of the people think Mexican style is just getting into war and being, no matter if you get hit. But he says that the real Mexican style is just go to war, fight, but also being smart and trying to move from the punches, punch and not being punched.
Absolutely. That was my last, but I just one more because I'm curious. Who does he think would have won? Valero or Pacquiao? Who would have won that fight? Because it was supposed to happen.
Wow. Valero o Pacquiao, Dios mío.
Bueno, está difícil, pero yo creo que sí me inclino un poquito por el Inca Valero.
Okay. He says it's hard, but Valero.
Yeah, it was Valero that
aquí, aunque claro que Pacquiao también en su tiempo fue una eminencia.
Yeah, he says that of course Pacquiao is, out of proportions, no? He's a great one, but he thinks Valero.
Yeah, well, I want to thank Cachorro for showing up here. And anything else you want to say to the fans before we let them go?
¿Algo que le quieras decir a tus fans, Cachorro?
Claro, pues primero que nada darles las gracias por el apoyo que me han brindado hasta este punto de mi carrera. Son la verdad que mi más sincero cariño hacia ellos y que sigan poniendo atención en esto porque esto apenas empieza y les aseguro que voy para grande, voy para largo. Pongan atención en mí como peleador y les prometo, sin promesas, es más, sin promesas, que cada quien vea, que vean cómo va creciendo ahora sí que el Cachorro Solís.
Okay, he says that thanks for the support, that his most honest love to all of them, that don't keep track of him because he is going to do great things and he doesn't want to promise anything because people will see who is Cachorro Solís.
Perfect. Muchas gracias, Cachorro. Que tengas unas buenas noches.
Sin promesas porque después parezco diputado.
He said no promises because then I feel like a politician from Mexico.
Right. There you go. We don't want that, you know what I mean?
No.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
No, al contrario, gracias a ustedes.
Gracias, Cachorro. Bye.
All right, bro. So,
Bye.
mucho gusto. That was Cachorro and Flaca. We want to thank you for translating for us.
Well, horrible English, but at least I got to speak a little Spanish.
I think you did great. I think you did great. We hope to have you in the future whenever we have a Spanish-speaking fighter. So, Flaca, before we let you go, what's going on with you? Like, what? You got a fight coming up? What's going on? Are we going to see you?
Well, I don't know if I told you, but I just lost 2 days because I had an anemia problems with my team. I changed my team, so I have a nutritionist that didn't know my body so well. So that got me anemia. I was at the hospital 2 days, but then I couldn't train for 3 weeks. It was the worst nightmare ever. But now I'm back on track doing my three trainings a day. The weights, the running, the boxing. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I think that on August I will be back.
All right. And once again, Flaca, we appreciate you, and you have yourself a good one.
Okay. Bye, guys. Ciao.
Bye. Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoa. I don't know what happened with you, Funky. Okay. He kind of disappeared there, With that said, Calix, welcome back, brother. You know what I mean? And I know Amilcar, I know you got to go shortly, brother. Anything you wanted to, yours, whatever you want to say.
I was going to give that high five over to G-Funky tag team style and get him into the match real quick. I'll just wait for G-Funky to come back.
Oh, look, it's like in wrestling, like last second, he got tagged. You know what I mean? There you go.
Tag in G-Funky, man. Good to see you.
You got to tag.
Órale, raza. Órale, carnales. What's going on?
All right. Definitely appreciate you, Milcar, and you have yourself a great one, man. We'll see you for the roundtable.
Absolutely. Check me out Thursday on D-Style Boxing for the best discussion in boxing, the roundtable. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man. I mean, we're and once again, shout out to Maestro. Make sure you guys subscribe to him and check out his show every Monday, Mano a Mano. Man. Hey, Chief Funky, I gotta ask you before we proceed, what you make of Nonito Donaire's performance?
Man, like I said in last week when we talked about the fight, I feel like he's a more well-rounded fighter at his advanced stage than he was back when he was considered to be the number 3 guy in the world behind Pacquiao and Mayweather. Ever since he started to add that right hand, because he was always kind of a one-handed fighter to me, I feel like that opens up a lot of things. We still know that the money punch for him is that left, whether it be the hook or the uppercut. we see that he's still very good as far as his reflexes goes because he was countering the hell out of Obali. But, you know, again, to Obali's style, he's very aggressive, throws a lot of combinations, which leaves counter punchers like Donaire, gives them opportunities to counter you. So I feel like that was a bad game plan for him. Nonito Donaire, the KG veteran, capitalized on it and becomes a world champion again at age 38. Congratulations to him. And I got to say, it feels good to get back in the win column here for me, man. And that was a big upset that you and I picked on the last show.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Nonito Donaire. You know what I mean? We did the easy part. We just predicted it. He went out there and he did it. So shout out to him, making it look good. You know, so shout out to Nonito Donaire for sure. And people are saying Hall of Famer. I thought he was already Hall of Famer, but if people wanted this to solidify it, okay, there you go. You know what I mean? If there was any doubt, I think the doubt's gone. You know, so shout out to Nonito Donaire, man. Great fighter. You know what I mean? I want to ask you guys, man, just so we could dive into this a little bit. Are people being too harsh to Devin Haney in your opinions? Like, what's your overall? Because there's different groups saying different things, so that I don't want to make it like people is a very general statement. But just what's your overall feeling about the Devin Haney criticisms and all that? Let's start with Calix. Go ahead.
It's tough to say because fighters of today, they're fighting once or twice a year, so they don't give us enough to go off of, right? Like it's just such a slow process now. Like I saw somebody sharing a video on Twitter earlier of Mayweather getting touched up by Chop Chop Corley and saying, "Oh, if social media would have been around back then, what would we be saying about Mayweather? Would we be saying the same thing about that we're saying about Haney today?" And not really, because Mayweather fought like 4 months before that Chop Chop Corley fight, and then he fought another 5 or 6 months after that. So he was active. So the issue here is Haney, we're probably looking at another 8 or 9 months before he fights, right? So it's just tough to get a big enough sample size to come to a conclusion on these guys and to formulate an educated opinion on this. So my issue with it is fighters just aren't giving us enough to work off of. So I think it's fair to come to these. It's fair to start to evaluate these fighters earlier on in their careers. And this guy has a legit belt right now, right? So I think we should grade him on a tougher curve. So there are some serious issues that we're starting to see. Look, he looked great the first 9 rounds, was boxing great through 9.5 rounds and got caught. So you brought up some points that I made on my channel as well, that he didn't cut Linares. Linares cuts easy. The fact that he didn't cut him, the fact that he didn't hurt him, and also the fact that we've heard rumblings from a guy that you've had on your channel, Kid Austin, right? We've heard rumblings that he touched up Haney in sparring, and that Haney has some issues with his chin in sparring, and he sort of had some issues late against Linares. So a pattern may be developing here. I don't know, but I think it's fair. I think it's fair game because these fighters aren't giving us enough to work off of as fans. So I think it's safe for us. It's fair for us to jump to conclusions a little earlier. And hey, he can prove us wrong.
Wow, you know, I've shout out to Bill Parcells, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. You are who you are. Like I never believed in, well, it's because this or because he played, he fought that way because he wanted to do this and that. Like, man, ain't nobody believed that. Come on, Haney wasn't trying to give the fans a great fight. Okay, if that was the case, he would have traded more, wouldn't he? I mean, wouldn't he be in the pocket a lot longer? And I'm not even saying he's required to do those things. Don't get me wrong. But his fans, like when you do damage control, you do more damage than control. Right. You know what I mean? Like you're not helping this case here. Like it's okay to just say, you know what? And this goes to a lot of you out there. It's okay to say, you know what? I wasn't giving Loma credit when he knocked out Linares. Okay. Mm-hmm. And now that he gave Haney, you know, and he hurt Haney late in the fight, maybe I wasn't either A, Haney's not as good as you thought he was, or Linares is better than he thought he was. It's one or the other. A lot of you out there need to do some admitting somewhere. Like there's somewhere you need to admit and concede something, okay?
Right.
Because that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? But that's how I see it. But why is it that and we've been hearing, okay, all these amazing stories, right? Dude, like Haney verse 2, chapter 5, like Haney chapter 5, verse 2, like biblical stories about Devin Haney, all right, in sparring, like, oh, he made this guy quit, and he stopped this guy, and this guy didn't even want to return because he was beating the shit out of him so bad, but we don't see this happen in the fights. It never happens in the fights. We didn't see Gamboa quit. We didn't see Linares, get stopped. So why do we keep hearing all these amazing stories about sparring, Chief Funky? They're all in sparring, right?
Exactly. And that's exactly what HCP has been saying for a long, long time here, okay? 60 episodes to be a matter of fact, all right? We've been talking about how sparring is just sparring, guys. We cannot go off of that, all right? And I mean, I've been in the gyms. I've seen guys that are amateurs have a couple fights, go in there and look impressive against guys who are professionals. But then it doesn't translate over into when the bright lights are on you. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening with Haney here, but we do have to pump the brakes now. Okay, we can't go off of these tall tales that come out of his camp about him making guys quit and all this and that, because it's not translating over to the ring. Okay, we just have to stop with that stuff. Okay, here's another thing I want to say, and Calix, you hit on a great point, man. This kid is you guys are saying, again, he's the real WBC champion at 135 pounds, right? So we can't say at one point, we can't say, okay, he's the real champion. And then when we see him fight and things happen, I'll go, well, he's only 22. No, that's not how it works, man. Okay, the guy's a world champion, like you say. Then the training wheels come off, man. It's another thing HCP has been telling you guys for a long time. When you become a champion, the wheels come off, man. The training wheels are off. So no more of this. He's only 22. He's a world champion. Okay, bottom line.
I mean, so you guys want us to start saying Canelo was only 23 when he fought Floyd?
Right.
Yep.
So we just start saying that? Oh, no, it didn't matter. It didn't matter then, but now it matters. Like, when does it matter? Yep. Like Teofimo was just 22 when or just turned 23, or he was 22 when he fought Loma. Come on now. Salvador Sanchez had a Hall of Fame career, and he died in a car crash at age 23.
Benitez, 17.
Benitez, 17. You know what I mean? So I just don't want to hear it. Like, if he wasn't ready for the title, then he shouldn't have fought for the title then. You know what I mean? Look, he just beat Linares. I don't want to hear he's only 22. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Linares ain't a bad fighter. I just think a lot of people out there got to admit he's better than he is. But here's the controversy of the weekend, though. On his podcast, Sean Porter basically insinuated that something was fishy with the fight, because that's not a fighter's act when they hurt somebody, right? He's like, usually we're more aggressive when we hurt a guy, and Linares wasn't going for it. Something was up. Something was going on right there. Like, and I've been hearing his narrative, by the way. I've been hearing the Linares through the fight, this and that. I just think there's better explanations for it. But Chief Funky, what do you think?
No, I disagree 100% with Sean Porter. There's no way Linares threw this fight. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I don't know if Porter has seen Linares fight enough, but I think if it's not him, anybody else that's saying that Linares threw the fight, you just probably haven't seen this guy fight in the past. Maybe this might be the first time you've seen him fight. But again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but HCP has been saying this, okay? Linares has a glass chin, okay? Linares cuts very easily. Linares doesn't have a good gas tank. These are all things that we said before this fight happened. In my opinion, here's what I think. He caught him with a good shot, hurt him. Obviously, we all saw him walk back to his corner. He looked like Bambi on ice, okay? The man's legs were wobbled. and then he held on for the next two rounds. He had to hold on to survive the fight. I just think, in my opinion, Linares was tired himself, and that's very typical of Linares in the championship rounds to get tired down the stretch. We've seen him dominate guys, and I mean, you guys want to talk about dominating? Go back and watch when Linares fought DeMarco. He was dominating the fuck out of that kid, and he ran out of gas again. Ran out of gas, and DeMarco finished him. You know, like this is not. No, he did not throw the fight. I'm sorry. No, I'm not gonna run with that, man. No.
What do you think, Alex? Did you know? Did he hurt him and said, "Okay, I don't want to hit you no more"? Like, what do you think happened?
No. Linares isn't a guy I would question for something like that. I think he wanted to win the fight. The issue is everything G Funky's bringing up is not only that, the stamina issues, but also the inconsistencies of Linares. I brought that up. That's why I didn't pick the upset for this fight. Even with the questions I had with Haney coming in, is Linares is so inconsistent in the ring. He has rounds where he looks like one of the best fighters in the world, and then he has rounds where he looks pedestrian. So it's rough, man. But no, not at all. He just didn't finish the job, and you have to question whether Haney can stay in there with a guy with finishing power when he does get hurt in the future. I think it's fair. I think it's a fair question. But overall, I thought this was a good win for Haney overall, but there are questions because there is another level. There's levels, and there is another level after this, and it gets tougher. And that's why I sort of compared him to Amir Khan in one of my videos. Is Amir Khan is a guy who looked like he belonged on the pound-for-pound list at one point, looked great, but when he fought Brady Prescott, not so much. And then they matched him carefully for about a handful of fights before they stepped him up against Maidana, which I'm shocked. He lasted against Maidana and won the fight. But as he stepped up, the Terrence Crawfords, the Canelo Alvarez's, the Danny Garcias, you started to see that he couldn't compete at that elite level because of the chin. So is Haney cut from that cloth? But we're going to start to see, because you know a lot about a fighter, how his handlers handle him. So I don't think they're going to match him up with a Teofimo Lopez next or somebody like that. I think he's going to have a lighter touch, probably early 2022, and we're not going to see him in a big fight until mid to late 2022, in my opinion. I think they're going to handle him carefully.
They've been handling him carefully, even though he's had that WBC strap.
I mean, bro.
Gamboa, Linares, like these are guys with known bad chins. Gamboa been stopped multiple times, been down 17 times in his career. Linares been knocked out 5 times. He was just knocked out in the first round 2 fights ago. Yeah. Like, this is careful mismatching. That's the reason we stood there. Like, he stood in the pocket to entertain the fans. No, he stood in the pocket because they thought he was going to knock this guy out because he has a bad chin. It just didn't happen. You know, he just doesn't have the power to do it.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. Whenever you go to UPS, like, you know, and you want to buy one of those boxes with the foam stuff inside, you know, and the, you know, you could get a sticker that says "Handle with care." It has Linares like holding it, like the poster. You know what I mean? Like, it's like right there. Handle it with care. You know. Let me tell you something, bro. Like the Zone bought Haney a chandelier. You know what I mean? All you had to do was shatter it, and he couldn't do it. That's what it is. That's what it is, guys. Like, I actually thought, I didn't think he was going to one-punch knockout power him, but I thought accumulation and cuts were going to stop the fight. Like, I switched my pick even last minute, thinking, you know, I think he's going to cut him. I think he's going to kind of mess him up a little bit, but unfortunately, that's just not the way it went. And maybe he's just that guy, but let me just tell you something. Somebody get Nelly on the phone. Okay, let's get that St. Louis cap, you know, for Haney. You know what I mean? And we got Corey Speaks 2.0 walking through the ring. Because look, and I'm serious when I say this, don't sleep on Haney, because he's going to pull off some wins, but he's going to also get beat. And that's Corey Spinks. He beats the guy that just beat Vernon Forrest. You know what I mean? He arguably beat Jermaine Taylor, but then he also got knocked out by Zab Judah. Like, that's going to be Haney, guys. Like, I'm just telling you right now, and I keep hearing this same shit. Oh, but what about Garcia? He got knocked down. One, I never said I don't think Garcia has a suspect chin, okay? I do think he has a suspect chin. Okay, I do think we've been on HCP. We're saying he's a tuck in that chin. Okay, and you saw what happened. We've been saying that. We've been saying he's going to get chin checked and he's going to get dropped, but he got back up and he survived by fighting back, and then he stopped the guy. The problem with, it's people just think knockdown equals worse. Okay, so Corrales dropped Castillo twice, dropped him twice, and then he stopped Castillo when Castillo was against the ropes. He couldn't continue. Castillo never went down. That never happened. Okay, but he was hurt. Here's the reality, guys. We have to question, all right, the
recovery.
Oh my God. That recovery, I'm sorry, the recovery time. And I talked about that shit for hours with G-Funk earlier. His recovery time. Bro, he has atrocious recovery time. He got hurt at the end of the 10th. He had a minute to rest. He had 3 minutes where Linares didn't really do much. And then he had another minute in the corner, and then he didn't recover till the end of the fight. That's 8 minutes. Yeah. And he was hanging on for dear life. Bro, I'm telling you right now, he wasn't all there. And just to explain to Linares, I think Linares was tired, as G-Funky said. I also think Linares tries to look for the perfect shots, and he's gun shy. Even though there's a dude that's hurt in front of him, he's gun shy. Do you blame Linares for being gun shy? He's been knocked out before, like devastatingly, So that's all I got to say about that, man. I want to talk about this day in history before we go to the main topic. 2 years ago, Andy Ruiz pulled off one of the biggest upsets in heavyweight title history. Shocked me, shocked the world, shocked everybody. Okay, the UK went into mourning, and Mexico went into party mode. Mexican Americans, like every Mexican American I knew, all of a sudden, like were lifelong Andy Ruiz fans. Like the next day, I've been watching him the whole time. Like what are you talking about? Like you never watch Andy Ruiz? Dude, I've been a fan of Andy Ruiz like the whole time. Like, okay. Very similar to football. Like when the team wins the Super Bowl and then people are wearing the jerseys all of a sudden, something like that. But big win. Before I go to G-Funk, I want to say this. I don't know if I would still be on YouTube anymore if it wasn't for that win. Because I was kind of like, I don't know. I think I'm done with boxing, and then something might have happened anyway down the line, but like that win, like what was like awesome. It's just that there's no other way to put it. It was an awesome win. It was unexpected. It's what you want. You want these things to be possible to make fights intriguing and entertaining. Like you don't want every fight to feel like it's a foregone conclusion, even though this one felt like it going in. But the longer the fight went, the more and more confident I was feeling like, man, this guy's going to pull it off. I thought it was over when he got knocked down. I was like, okay, that's it. But then he got back up and he hurt Joshua, dropped him twice. And then every time it looked like Joshua was going to recover, he would hit him again and wobble him again. And eventually it was all she wrote. G-Funky, what do you remember about 2 years ago, June 1st?
Wow. It was really all I got to say about that one. I did not expect Andy to win that fight, especially coming off short notice with AJ. I was, hyped up and ready for what we all thought was going to be the undisputed fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Turns out this little fat Mexican on a few weeks' notice came in and shocked the world, and I was very excited to see that. We as Mexicanos, Chicanos, we have a lot of stake in boxing. We've won championships in just about every division, and the biggest one, the one that gets the most clout, the heavyweight division, we haven't even come close to that. And I wouldn't even say like Areola when he fought Klitschko. Like, yeah, he had a chance to win it, but that fight was not even close. This guy came in, got dropped, and I'm thinking, well, here we go. He's probably going to finish him off, and then there's an exchange, and then boom, he gets hit with a left hook on the temple, and never recovered from it. Andy Ruiz finishes him off a few rounds later. Funny that this fight comes up a few days after the Haney Linares because we talk about recovery time. I think we could say the same thing with AJ. He did not recover in that fight. Once he got hit with that shot on the temple, he was not the same guy in that fight. And a few rounds later, Ruiz was able to finish the guy off. Who's to say if that right hand left hook doesn't land on Haney in round 5, does he make it? Does he make it 7 more rounds, to the finish line? We don't know. Fortunately for him, it happened late in the fight, and he was able to survive, and credit to him for that. He gets the win. But recovery time, again, another thing with Joshua. So, yeah, I was very happy, very excited with Andy. I ran out right away and bought a bottle of Patron and got a little drunk that night because we finally had a heavyweight champion of the world. So, yeah, great memories there with that one.
Absolutely. Calix, what do you remember?
I was shocked like everybody, but it's funny you bring up Klitschko versus Areola because I forgot about that fight, man. That was such a disappointment because I wanted to see Areola pull something out the bag so bad, but Vitaly's such a dog, man. He's such a dog. I always felt he was a better Klitschko brother, but nah, man, just a shock. And I was never big on Joshua, so I shouldn't have been shocked, I guess, but I just wasn't as high on Ruiz as I should have been maybe, but it was sort of disappointing that he didn't follow up on that with other big wins, but maybe he's getting his career back going. But great win, shocking indeed. And it was great for boxing, no doubt. But it's interesting that you said it brought you back to YouTube, but it's funny how one event can do that and bring you back to the sport you love, because you sort of forget why you fell in love with the sport. And I know how that is because it happens to me quite often. You have fighter A versus fighter B, and it's clear that fighter A is going to win the fight. But every once in a while, you have an event that just shocks you. And he's like, that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm going to get back into it. So it's, for me, it was what got me back into it was the Fury versus Wilder, the first fight, got me back interested in getting back on YouTube. So, heavyweight division, man, as weak as we could say it is, historically, it is entertaining. You do have entertaining matchups to be made up there. And Ruiz is a guy who can be in a lot of entertaining fights, a lot.
Look, man, heavyweight this is true in all divisions, obviously, but it's just the higher you go in weight class, the more true it is in general. It's one punch can change everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the heavyweight division is that. You know what I mean? And you just see it more often. There's a higher KO ratio than in the other weight classes for a reason. And to me, that was a night I'll never forget. Like, even though he disappointed me afterwards, it's like nobody could take that moment away. Nothing. You know what I mean?
Like talking to you as something like Roy Jones versus Antonio Tarver too.
They're both up there.
Because that was one of the
Roy
most
Jones
shocking.
one was a little bit like, whoa, what the fuck?
That was one of the most shocking things I've ever seen in the boxing.
I was
ring
shocked.
right
I was shocked at that one too, Calix. But I think the way that Tarver performed in the first fight kind of was like, well, there's a lot of people questioning Roy at that point. Even I did, and I was a big Roy Jones fan back then. I was like, he probably shouldn't have came back down. Yeah. The reflexes were not what they used to be. You could clearly see that in the first fight. But I was being a Roy Jones fan. I was like, nah, he's gonna beat him, and then he got knocked out. That was pretty shocking to see Roy get dropped like that. But I think the Ruiz one was a little more shocking, especially because of just the way he looked, compared to AJ.
That was your prototypical boxing isn't a what do you call a bodybuilding competition, because if you look at that, Anthony Joshua he's built, and Ruiz not so much. So that's your prototypical. This isn't a bodybuilding competition. This is about skills. This is about landing the right shot, and Ruiz showed it that night.
Yeah, how many people were in the garden and were probably thinking oh, this is such a mismatch, and then 2 rounds in, it was clear it was not a mismatch. I still felt like AJ's going to win, but I felt like, you know what? Hey, he's putting up a fight here, and then he got knocked down. Okay, that's it, and it wasn't. So big night, big win by Andy Ruiz, and I still think he can do something in the division if he stays focused, is Reynoso, and keeps stays in the gym and stays out of, I'm not worried about him going to the streets and getting shot. Like I'm worried about him going to the pizza, place or to the McDonald's drive-thru. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm worried about. Okay. But hey, I'm just saying. And really quick, what do you guys make of this tweet? I'm Pretty Boy Floyd incarnate. Do research. Look at the similarities in style and career. He had the audacity to tell to do research.
Wow. Let me tell you something. Pretty Boy Floyd beats and makes Linares, makes the corner throw in the towel in less than 6 rounds.
Yeah.
Easy. I mean, if he doesn't stop him with a knockout, he probably just hits him so many times that his face looks like a puddle of blood. Like it would not be pretty at all. He wouldn't go 12, that's for sure, and he wouldn't be getting hurt by him either.
Pretty Boy Floyd was stopping people. Like
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Devin Haney? Look, do the research. Look at the similarities in style and career. He literally fights like Money Mayweather. Okay, he fights like the way Mayweather fought at a welterweight when he had already moved up several weight classes. And then you see the career. What the fuck you talking about, bro? I know who Mayweather beat for his first title. Gerardo Hernandez, bro. You know what I mean? Like that was a good fight. I don't know who the fuck this dude beat for the title. He hasn't even fought a Jesus Chavez, bro. Come on. Yeah. Stop.
There seems to be a consensus here with us three that Haney's a guy who will win legit titles. And you brought up that's a great example with Spinks, but will never be.
He needs to go in with Nelly, bro.
Right, but will never be the top guy in his division or maybe even top 2 or 3. But the issue with him, too, is he can't make 135 much longer, it doesn't seem. So how many fights does he have left at 135? So if he doesn't have power at 135, he can't carry it over to 140, and he's going to be facing guys like, imagine him against a Jose Ramirez. How does that fight go? Right? So you face bigger guys who can take a punch and who can catch you at any time. 140 is a different beast. Regis Prograis, a guy like that. We all think Josh Taylor is probably going to move up at some point, but let's say Josh Taylor's still there. I'd favor Taylor and Ramirez and Prograis against Devin Haney at 140, all three.
Right. Well said. Well, I know L-Dog posted that, and it reminded me of that tweet because I wanted to put it up because then someone will say, "Oh, that's stupid. Nobody ever said that." Well, Devin Haney said it. He tweeted it. Like, what do you mean? Like you gotta show it to people. So because they'll be like, "What? Nobody ever said that. Who said that?" Your favorite channel said it. What do you mean? We would expose shit like Dante Boxing says, and his fans will be on Uncensored, and they'll be like, "That's stupid. Who would say that?" Dante, what? He said it. No, he didn't. And then we would show him the footage, and then they'll still be like, "What does that have to do with me?" Well, you literally just questioned us, saying that nobody said it. What? Anyway. Anyway, I'm feeling very emotional right now, guys, because Jim Lampley, he's back. And
bang.
I miss him. Jim Lampley, he's when I think about, I can't even, go ahead, Alex. Jim Lampley's back, brother. Triller, what do you make of it, Alex?
It's mixed emotions for me because I came up on HBO boxing, so Lampley always have there'll always be nostalgia there, right? With that old HBO crew, with him and Merchant and whoever it would be, George Foreman, Lennox Lewis, Roy Jones. So there'll always be nostalgia there. But towards the end of HBO's run, it got really rough, man. It got really rough with that commentating crew. Lampley was just crying. As he got older, too, it got worse with the crying. He would just say stuff that was not emotional at all and just start bawling. It's like, dude, why are you crying? And but him And then Max Kellerman started to get rough at the end, which I was hoping that ESPN wouldn't bring Max Kellerman into the mix with HBO, with ESPN boxing. But that was sort of the good thing about HBO's exit, as much as it was with nostalgia for me. That crew started to get rough with me, really, really rough. But Triller, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what kind of fit it is. I guess he's better than some of the other guys that would be out there. I don't know, but I'm hearing some rough things about Triller right now. Roy Jones is saying he didn't get paid fully for his fight, so I don't know how long Triller's going to be around from what the stuff I'm hearing.
Well, I have my own theory about that. So before I go to Chief Funky really quick, I think they're making up the numbers. So when Roy Jones is like, well, where's my cut? Well, they don't have it.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think Jake Paul left? He's okay with the lie. He's okay with people thinking that's how much he sold, but the Mayweather-Logan Paul fight and how much it does is going to give us a better indication because that's Showtime. That's a publicly traded company by CBS Corp. We're going to know the truth. So we're going to find out. I hope it flops, by the way. We're going to talk about that next. But Chief Funky, what do you make, man? Chip Lampley is back, bro. He's just...
No llores, vato. No llores.
Hey, by the way, remember when he was crying for the dude that worked in the truck? Like,
yeah,
he's been with us for 10 years. We're gonna miss you. Like, nobody give a fuck about the dude in the truck, bro. Go ahead.
Lampley is what we call a llorón, a pinche llorón. But look, man, here's the thing. Well, as a kid growing up, watching a lot of fights and good fights on HBO, I'm talking about early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, even some of the 2000s. That was a pretty good crew with Lampley, Merchant, George Foreman, Letterman on the card. You know, they were pretty decent then. As time went on, though, you could definitely see the bias towards certain fighters. They gave Lampley his own show. That was just pathetic, in my opinion. Really, really bad show. And HBO, and I agree, Calix, at the end, it was hard. Really hard to listen to these guys. They brought in Roy. Roy was pretty entertaining. Max was just basically Merchant 2.0. You know, nothing different. They're just a younger version. And I'm not excited, really, to be honest with you. Like I said, as much as I enjoyed listening to those guys when I was growing up as a kid, as I got older and older, it got to the point where I didn't even care to listen to them anymore. Like, I would have fight parties in my house, and like I wouldn't even turn up the volume. Like, there'd be a lot of people there. Like, I would not turn up the volume to hear this guy talk or any of them talk. You know, it got that bad for me. So I'm not excited to have him back. I mean, we'll see. I mean, how he does with Triller. Calling the fights. I mean, obviously, I think he's a lot better than Snoop Dogg. That's for sure.
Quite the bar there. Quite the bar there.
Yeah, but we'll see, man. You know, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it, but I'm definitely not excited to have him back, like some people are.
But by the way, 92 Ku talked about the fight show or whatever it was called. I actually didn't mind the show. I thought the show was pretty cool. I like the Gotti list. I don't have an issue with the Gotti list. You know what I mean? It was just highlighting the exciting fighters of the sport. Sometimes he would put guys that didn't belong in the Gotti list. Like, it was just weird. But, you know, that's the thing that got to me sometimes. But I got the idea behind it. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of purists out there, like the elitists, like, Gotti, I don't like Rock'em Sock'em. Like, get the fuck out, shut up, dude. like, you know, I can't say that shit. Like, yeah, we know he wasn't like elite, but he was like right below the elite fighters. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Hey,
right? Yeah.
You know, everybody has their first Lampley cry story. When's the first time you saw Lampley cry? You know what mine was Bo Galata with the riot at Madison Square Garden.
I was just gonna say that, man. I was just gonna say it.
George Foreman's trying to, young man, you don't want to do that, young man. And then after Lampley comes on the mic and says, my daughter's out there.
Daughter's out there somewhere.
Come on. Why are you even announcing that? Like
He's,
in front of the
no,
world.
D-Style, he's doing it like this. They have like the wide angle on him. He's way up top. He's nowhere near the floor now. And he's getting ready to sign off. And he's like, guys, he's looking back. My daughter is somewhere out there. You know,
Oh man. Hey, I like the first time I saw him cry, there's two times that come to mind that were just, to me, were just ridiculous. Okay. The one time was Legendary Nights Moore Foreman. Okay, when he's like, I was talking to George, and he told me that he was gonna set him up, and he did. Wow. I'm just like, what the fuck? Why are you crying? Like what the fuck, bro? Like, and then the other time was like he really loved Vargas. Like he had a soft spot for Fernando Vargas. You know what I mean? And he was like, this kid, he came from a bad spot, from nothing. Like, but he's a millionaire now. He's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool, bro. Like chill. Like every fighter, but like, here's the worst part. Like, he would get. Remember that Russian that had a coma? Remember that?
Yeah.
In HBO, dude, he breezed through that like nothing. Like he was just like, just an update. He's in hospital. He's recovering. Thoughts are with the wife and but the guy in the truck, we going to say goodbye. He cried on that show about the dude in the truck. But you have a fighter that had a coma in a fight you called. Didn't shed a tear. Like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? He was picky when he cried, because you have to have a soft spot. Like the guys he had a soft spot for, that's when he cried. If he didn't give a fuck about you, you know what I mean? I don't think he ever cried about Floyd or like, I just don't. Floyd could have died in the ring. Jim would have been like, Floyd, down goes Floyd. He's not doing anything, gentlemen. Like he would have cried. But like Pacquiao stubs his toe. Oh, stubs his toe. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. But other than that,
he'll never be able to use those magnificent angles again.
Remember when he couldn't stop praising Mosley for the fight with Mora? Like, this is why we love Mosley. Like,
that was the worst fight I've ever seen.
That was a terrible fight. Terrible.
That fight was up there with Klitschko Ibrahimov. Those two? I don't know which is worse.
Ugly.
I have no idea, bro. Like, those fights will make Devin Haney look like a superstar. Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, one more thing, guys. Look, I know what people are going to say, like, well, don't talk about it. Like, look, we had a prospect on. We talked about all these fights. It is what it is. But it's the elephant in the room. Mayweather versus Logan Paul. What I'm calling the biggest heist in the history of boxing. Those are 2 thumbs down given by G Funky. And speaking of G Funky, talk to me, man. What does the fact that this fight is selling say about our society, man? I know it's like kind of deep, but
what it says about our society is something that I've been saying on HCP for a while. This is pure 100% organic dumpster juice. That's what this is. Okay. I have not even talked about it on my channel. I have not said anything about it on social media. I don't want nothing to do with this. Someone like myself, who's a married man who works, has kids, my time is precious, and I give the little bit of time that I have to the sport to come here and talk with you guys about real boxing. Okay. This is not a real boxing match. This is phony, fake shit. What this is. And Mayweather's right. It is just a money grab. That's all it is at the end of the day. And you know what? Credit to those guys. They're going to make a lot of money, whatever, but speaking of money, like I said, my time is very precious. Okay. Somebody will have to literally pay me to watch this fight. Like, I'm not even going to stream it illegally. Like, it's not even worth my time to sit down and watch it. Like, I would have to be paid to watch this fight. I want absolutely nothing to do with this fight. That's really all I have to say about it.
What do you make of the people trying to break down the fight? Like, I think what Floyd should do is like what do you make of that, G Funky? Like they're like trying to break it down. You know what I mean? That he's got to like, how is he gonna slip the jab? And you know,
That's all I can say about that.
hey,
Let's break down this fight, Logan Paul versus Mayweather. I want to see. Are there breakdowns here on YouTube somewhere? Or what?
yeah, I guess so. Like, there's people breaking it down. But I'm just telling that right now, like, oh, Floyd's gonna have to get through the height. Like they're looking up the arm length of. Well, this is a fight where I don't give a fuck what the arm length is. Okay, I just don't care. Like it doesn't matter.
Literally does not matter.
Hey, Calix, what does it say about our society, man? That this fight is selling, bro. Like the casuals are eating this up.
Well, I guess we'll see when the numbers come out how much it's selling. But I remember when Mayweather versus McGregor was happening, and before the fight, and I was talking to Hailstorm about it, and he told me he knew people around associated with Mayweather's gym. He said, "Dude, he's not training for this fight. He's just not training. This isn't a real fight." And I think the same thing's happening here. I don't think Logan Paul's in serious boxing training. I don't think
could have been disastrous, by the way. All right.
Yeah, I don't think Mayweather's in training for this fight either. I think this whole thing is scripted. It's obvious, but I don't understand what this is, to be quite honest, because I'm not I don't watch TV besides fights and college football. Really, that's about it with me.
I was hoping you knew.
No, and so I'm not a celebrity guy. I don't know who these I thought he was fighting Jake Paul, who was the undefeated guy, but he's fighting the winless guy, 0-1. So to me, what's happening here is this is a setup for the Jake Paul fight, who he just signed with Showtime. To me, this is all obvious, right? That this is he's promoting his fight that's coming up, and then they're going to eventually meet. It's eventually going to be Floyd versus the undefeated Jake Paul kid, right? Who I still don't know who these guys are, but apparently they're popular and it's selling. So good for everybody involved. It's not my thing. It's not my, and I'm not gonna knock. Look, if you want to watch the fight, fine, have fun. It's just not my thing. Somebody in the chat saying you're all gonna watch. I'm definitely not gonna watch. I have no interest in. I literally have no interest in this at all, and none of them. I don't have any interest in any of these celebrity scraps. I just, it doesn't do anything for me. And from the stuff I'm starting to hear about Triller come out, Roy Jones's interview, I'm not so sure as I was a couple months ago that this thing is going to stick around. I'm not so sure,
which is a good thing.
I think the money's kind of looking funny, and hopefully this thing goes by the wayside. But I don't mean to speak ill of people. I wish everybody the best, but I think it would be better for the sport if this wasn't around. I don't know.
Right. Well, look, there was a time where I remember we had Ari the Rugged Man. Shout out to him. Hope to have him in the future. But and he was convinced that this is what people want. People want celebrities, and that's what they don't want to watch. Like he literally told us, and it wasn't like, I don't blame him for feeling that way, because I felt the same way. Like people don't want to see Billy Joe Saunders fight Canelo. Only hardcore boxing fans want that. Like nobody else really wants that. But it was good to see like 75,000 people fill up a stadium, and there was a pandemic, so UK people couldn't even come over here. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm not saying there wasn't any UK people, but it wasn't like that's why it sold. No, it was people that really just say, you know what, it's Canelo, he's active and he's fighting a good fighter, and I think that it just sold. You know, I think people are overthinking things, in my opinion, because there was a time where the zone was turning down Smith and Billy Joe, and they were telling Canelo, no, you need to fight De La Hoya or which was ridiculous, or those UFC guys, because and then we could sell it that way. I mean, that's how we were waiting for the UFC fight to end, because it's big, and that's why we had you fight afterwards, right? But now even the zone's kind of like, you know what, we don't need to do these circus acts, Go ahead, Calix.
But this doesn't seem sustainable to me. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, because eventually this guy, because the guy keeps fighting, the other one, the undefeated guy, he keeps fighting UFC guys in boxing matches. So eventually he's going to be out in public in a boxing gym, and one of these boxers is going to approach him, and it's going to get ugly. He's going to walk up on the wrong guy. Maybe a James Toney or a James Toney type is going to be around, and it's not going to be pretty. There's only so long you can keep this up and keep this going before you walk up on the wrong guy. And Mayweather doesn't seem sustainable.
I apologize for that, but I'm gonna let you continue. But I was gonna say Mayweather was in the joke, right? Like with the whole hat thing, and yeah, he's having fun with that, bro. He's talking shit to you, but there's dudes out there that don't play that. No. Like they don't play. They don't believe in that WWE shit. Like if you go up to them and you tell them something, they're gonna slap you in the face, bro. They're gonna flat out just punch you. You know what I mean? And you're right. And he's doing it to not just boxers, bro. He's doing it to MMA fighters. You know what I mean? Some fighters gonna be like, yo, you're not gonna disrespect me like that. It's in this YouTube bullshit. You know what I mean?
And that's when it all comes crumbling down.
That's what happens. And the way you ran, what was it? Stage? Do you think, Alex? The thing with Mayweather, the hat?
Oh, the hat. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. But it all comes crumbling down when something like that happens. Your aura starts to go away from you. It's like the Marco Antonio Barrero when he fought Prince Nassim Ahmed. He wasn't having it. He wasn't having any of that, and the aura went away. And sort of in a smaller sense here is he's going to walk up on the wrong. He's going to be around the wrong guy. I mean, this guy's in public a lot, and somebody's going to check him, and it's going to get ugly. And it's all going to come. This whole hype show is going to come crumbling down. It's not going to be in the boxing ring because he's not going to fight an active boxer until it's Floyd. Floyd's in on the joke, so he's going to let this go because he's getting money out of it. But you walk up on the wrong guy, like I said, a James Toney type, and it's sort of like Charlie Z on YouTube, who's being sued by Kim Kardashian right now. Charlie Z walked in the wrong gym one day, Deontay Wilder's gym, and it all ended. Right?
No, actually, Wilder went to him. He found out where he was.
Wilder went to him. Eventually,
he was talking shit about Wilder's daughter. He was talking shit about his daughter, and he said, "I'm not playing these games with you."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. This isn't like some funny internet shit. You know, which people felt some type of way about it, but you know what? He was talking about his daughter. Like, that's a line you don't cross. You know, Big Dog Willie, thank you so much for the support, brother. And at Super Chat, I bet the other Paul brother's going to jump in the ring, hit Mayweather with a head with a chair. It's around 6 and 7. Yeah. Like if you're going to do WWE, like just do WWE. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. Like I enjoy watching wrestling, but like let us all in on the joke. Like my issue, man, is not the fact that it's happening. It's that it's they have the symbol Showtime Championship Boxing on it, like. You know what? You don't sell your prestige for a quick buck. You know what I mean?
It should say Showtime Championship Dumpster Juice.
That's right. Yeah, man.
That's probably the most disturbing part, right? Is the ESPN did little to no promotion for Taylor Ramirez. And by the way, has anybody seen any promotion for Lomachenko? You have to really, really search the internet for tickets to his fight on June 26th, which is a couple weeks away.
Damn, it's already come.
They're doing the same.
Halfway weeks away.
They're almost doing the same thing they did with Ramirez Taylor. Like they would just talk about it on another card during that card. Like they talked to Lomachenko during the fight 2 weeks ago. So just poor promotion on their part.
But they're all over this fight. They're all over this fight.
They're all over this fight because of the perceived perception. Mm-hmm. You know, my heart's gonna sink if this shit sells like 5 million buys. It's not gonna go anywhere. No, it's not gonna go anywhere. Like, it's not good for boxing if this fight succeeds. It's not,
right.
Dude. Not only that, but then all these retired Mayweather fanboys are gonna come out of nowhere, and we're gonna have to deal with these guys all over again, man. Remember how it was 10 years ago? Oh, we're gonna have to deal with that shit again, man.
Well, look, I mean. This can actually be a good thing for boxing if Floyd literally ding goes in there and just beats the fuck out of him for a round.
He won't.
And it's over. Like embarrasses him and everybody's like, what the fuck? And Paul's like this, like what the hell? Like, why'd you do that? Like I'm a real fighter, like, or something like that. You know, then maybe, but I have a feeling he's going to carry him. I just had that feeling. I have a feeling he's going to have fun with him, gets an exhibition. And to be honest with you, if Paul does land and catches Floyd's attention, that might be the worst thing Paul could do. Because then Floyd's going to beat the fuck out of him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like when someone's carrying you, the last thing you want to do is hit him with a real punch, So,
I mean, guys that train their whole life, fight from children to adults, become world champions. Some of them had a hard time landing clean shots on Mayweather for 12 rounds. Like, this guy has zero fucking chance to make any kind of noise in this fight. It's just an embarrassment, man. It's an embarrassment that he's fighting somebody like this.
Who did he lose to? Who did this guy lose to? He's 0-1.
KSI, bro. You know what KSI is?
Is he a gamer guy too?
Yeah, some gamer.
He's a gamer, bro. So he's fought Fight Night before, so he studied some moves while he's playing Fight Night, Look, man, this is all stupid. And one more thing I wanted to touch on was this. Anytime you need to justify what your fighter's doing by saying, well, what about what this guy did? And what about what this guy did? That's not good. Okay? Like if I did something I wasn't supposed to do when I was a kid and my mom or my dad caught me, you think they gave a fuck if I said, well, my cousin Frankie did it? And like they wouldn't give a fuck. Like no. But here's what I'll say, because I keep hearing Ali did exhibitions. What's the big deal? Was he bad for boxing? He did exhibitions for charity, a lot of them, okay? And the one he did with that Japanese cat, right, was a heavyweight and was allowed to kick Ali in the legs. He was allowed to grab Ali and take him down if he wanted to, okay? It wasn't quite MMA, but it was pretty close to MMA rules, as close as you can get back then, right? Floyd Mayweather also fought a Japanese fighter, okay, in an exhibition. That Japanese fighter was not allowed to kick Floyd, and he was a flyweight, okay? So there's no comparison here. There's just no comparison.
Hey, you know what else too? Floyd, I saw an interview. Floyd said that he compared this to a bank heist. So he's telling them, like, I'm taking your money. I'm stealing your money. I'm taking it from you. I'm not giving you anything in return.
And the zombies are like, yes, take my money, Floyd. Take it.
Guys, I don't. When Mayweather was going to fight Pacquiao, right? Dude, I had so many people always asking me about it at work and like just everywhere. Friends texting me, whatever. When he was going to fight McGregor, it was everywhere. Like people were asking me left and right about it. And this is totally anecdotal, but I no buzz. Like there's no buzz for it. I don't hear anybody talking about it at all. Calix, any buzz?
No, I haven't heard about it. Oh, just on Twitter, I've heard some stuff, but no.
Did you have any buzz like with people that usually don't talk to you about boxing with McGregor?
No. Oh yeah. Everywhere.
I did too. My house was full for that fight.
Yeah, Pacquiao.
My house was full. Right. Dude, for the Pacquiao fight, I had my entire inside of my house full with people. I had the garage full of people. I had a projection screen on my garage. So, I mean, I had like a completely full house for that one. For the McGregor fight, it was just the inside of my house. But there was a lot of people that wanted to see it. And there was a lot of people that believed McGregor had a good shot at winning, which was just hilarious to me. But
absolutely. And hey, guys, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank our guest, Alan Solis, Cochorro. Shout out to him. Moving up the ranks, and wants to become that first world champion from Juarez, Mexico. It's surprising. El Paso and Juarez have had one world champion combined. And the one that was born here doesn't even rep El Paso. Like, he moved to Las Cruces at a young age, and that's Austin Trout. Okay, but he was born here. It's like you were born in a hospital in El Paso, Texas. Okay,
how is that possible? That's crazy.
It's just it hasn't happened, and we've had decent like Juan Lascano. Like Juan Lascano would have. First of all, I think he beats Haney. I'm just putting that out there. Okay, but we've had some good fighters, but one thing after the other, and it's just it appears on TV anyway that it's easy to win world championships, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's a very difficult thing. So that's why I like interviewing the prospects. Shout out to Flaca. You know what I mean? Coming on here, giving us her time and translating. Okay. And all that. I want to thank Maestro as well. Guys, it is time for final thoughts. Calix.
Donaire. Beautiful performance by Donaire. Great stuff. Deontay Wilder's camp needs to stay quiet. They need to stop saying dumb stuff. And Haney, mixed bag there, but good win for him overall. And looking forward to another active month of June. It's going to be a good active month for boxing, and look forward to talking some boxing on YouTube. Check me out, Calix Boxing 2.0. And thanks for the invite again, man. Always appreciate coming on here. It's a great show.
Absolutely, man. Oh, it's great to have you. Everybody subscribe to Calix 2.0 here on YouTube and follow him on Twitter as well. Same handle. That's the thoughts, you funky.
Well, I want to touch on, again, some of the things that Calix said. Big shout out to Donaire for making us look brilliant. A lot of people didn't think he had a shot to beat this French guy, Obali, but he got the job done, you know. And I agree with what Calix said too. Wilder's team, they just say so many ridiculous things, like claiming he's more skilled than Ali and all this stuff. Like, I mean, my God, like, I don't know how deluded you can be to say something like that. He just got to get rid of the yes men in his life. That's not healthy. It's just not healthy. Sometimes you need someone to look you in the face and just give you the ugly truth. You know, you might not like it at the moment, but it will benefit you in the long run. Trust me. And last thing I want to speak about is Devin Haney. There's been a lot of talk about how people have been hard on him for whatever it is, you know. But look, here's the thing. You guys really just have to pump the brakes on this kid right now. You just have to. You guys are literally changing your narrative as things go on and on with this kid. First with Gamboa, it was, Gamboa was on survival mode. He's hugging all night long. Like, what do you expect him to do? You know, and all this other stuff. But then you condone Haney's hugging in this fight. You guys act like it's such a bad thing to see fighters get hit, to see fighters get hurt, right? Just like with Ryan Garcia. You guys talked a lot of shit about Ryan Garcia, but then your guy gets hurt. Then it's like all of a sudden now it's like, oh, well, this is boxing. This is a part of it. You know who's been telling you that? HCP. We're the ones who have been telling you that this is boxing, that guys get touched, guys get hit, guys get hurt. It's a part of the sport, okay? Stop acting like these guys don't get hit in the ring, okay? Haney's a good fighter, absolutely. Good boxer, very fast, but there are still some question marks out there. One of my questions I got an answer to. And you know what? It wasn't a good answer. I wanted to see how he was going to take Linares' punch. And it turns out he didn't take it too well. You know, he literally had to survive the fight, but he did get the win. I'm not going to come out here and act like he didn't win the fight or anything like that. I don't think the fight was fixed. None of that stuff. He won the fight, but we cannot erase from our memory what we saw at the end of that fight. He literally had to survive to win this fight. I think if that right hand lands on him in round 5, who knows if he makes it to the last bell? Who knows if that? But for him, unfortunately, it happened late in the fight. So, pretty much my stock with Haney is about even. Maybe dropped just a tiny bit because of him getting hurt that badly, not recovering. But that's really all I got to say, man. Thanks to you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Absolutely, and one more shout out to Jim and Lampley. Why did this time pass so fast? I don't want to end the show, you know. But it's been a pleasure because you guys give me your time and time means anyway. With that said, guys, this is D-Style Boxing. We're out of here. Peace.